What happened on the day that Vader found out that Palpatine lied about Padme's death? Greetings, and welcome back to the archives. It seems in your anger, you killed her. With venomous words, the last vestiges of Anakin Skywalker were locked away, and Darth Vader broke out of the shackles of the operating table. The woman who he had loved, the child that they were supposed to have, both now gone, all due to his rage and Mustafar. Everything the dark side had promised him had come to nothing, and he could only cry in agony as he realized that everything in his life had been taken from him. From this point onward, Vader was cold, angry, a machine, a man who murdered anyone who so much as looked at him sideways, and he would live out the next 20 years as this, believing that by his hand, Padme and their unborn child had perished. But that was all until a strange young rebel strong with the Force defied all odds and blew up the Empire's greatest weapon. From here, Vader would discover the truth of what happened to his wife. And my friends, in today's holocron, we are going to look at how Vader came to learn the truth of how he reacted when he first learned that his master had lied to him so long ago. Our story comes from the canon Star Wars and Lord Vader comic, which runs from 2015. These comics actually ran parallel to each other upon release, showing different perspectives of the events following the Battle of Yavin. After the destruction of the Death Star, Vader was in hot water with the Emperor. Since Tarkin had died aboard the battle station, there was no one for Palpatine to blame and take his anger out on except for his apprentice, the one who he had tasked with the security of the weapon. Vader was punished through demotion and suffered by being under the command of lesser beings such as General Tag. This, along with several other things, were put in place by the Emperor just to frustrate Vader. However, the Dark Lord had his mind occupied with something else entirely. Lord Vader was fascinated with the young rebel who had managed to escape him and blow up the Death Star in the first place. Vader had sensed how strong Luke was in the Force, and no other being in the galaxy should have been able to outfly him, and yet, Luke, with the help of his friends, had managed to. Vader had been so tunnel-visioned on sensing Luke's power that he hadn't sensed the Millennium Falcon coming up on his rear. But the waves of power that Vader had sensed from that little X-Wing was no mistake. In fact, even Palpatine had felt the ripples in the Force all the way from Coruscant when Luke made that shot. To say that Vader was obsessed would be to put things mild. Desiring to learn who Luke was, and perhaps even train him as an apprentice, he felt an indescribable pull towards the young boy. Unfortunately, he couldn't search by himself at this time, as Vader was being watched closely by the agents of the Emperor. So Vader would employ the best hand in the galaxy to be his quarry, and that was Boba Fett. The two already had a bit of history, and he knew that Boba Fett could get the job done. While Vader tended to his Imperial duties with Luke forever in the back of his mind, Boba Fett tracked the young boy down to Tatooine. After asking around and breaking a few bones, Boba found Luke poking around Ben Kenobi's hut in the Dune Sea. The two of them then had a confrontation which ended in a skirmish, one where Luke barely made it out alive with his life. Boba had the capability of contending with even experienced Jedi, but Luke was barely a novice at the time, which was why he was in Kenobi's hut in the first place, to learn. He had been hoping to find some help or further instruction, maybe some old Jedi text. Boba roughed up Luke quite a bit here, but with the help of R2, Luke narrowly managed to escape with the hidden case of knowledge that Ben Kenobi had left behind for him. Defeated, Boba returned to meet with Vader aboard the Executor. Fett informed Vader that he had lost the boy, to which Vader expressed his disappointment. He then asked the bounty hunter if he was able to get anything valuable from him though, to which Fett said not much, just a name, Skywalker. Vader does not respond to him. He stands as motionless as a black statue, staring vacantly out of the viewport. Fett breaks the awkward silence by concluding their business, and he takes his leave. But Vader just continues to stare. Memories flash by his goggled eyes. Padme nervously telling him that she was pregnant. Anakin expressing how excited he was. Vader's fist clenches. He sees the operating table, the room where he was transformed. Where is Padme? Is she safe? Is she alright? These words echo through his mind as a long, thin crack etches its way across the Star Destroyer viewport, splitting the reflection of Vader's face into two. And then, the memory of Palpatine's words. Vader remembers. Sidious's lie. It seems in your anger, you killed her. All this time, all this guilt, Vader had spent 2 decades believing his family was gone, He had destroyed it all. He believed that the chance of his happiness had died between his choking fingers on Mustafar. He had trusted Palpatine to save his wife, and he had trusted his master when Sidious said that he had killed her. But it was all a farce, a sick charade just to use and manipulate him. In that moment, the entire viewport window cracked over, nearly shattering under the sheer pressure of only Vader's rage. He swiftly makes his way towards his meditation pod, not breaking a single stride as he demands the automated system to calm the Emperor immediately. Vader is demanding an audience. The glowing blue from the holographic Sidious appears over the meditation chamber. At first, Sidious greets him, but interrupts himself. Sidious immediately feels Vader's fury. The palpable waves of the dark side radiated off of his very presence, so potent that Sidious knew to dispense with all pleasantries immediately. He didn't know why Vader was angry though, but he could feel that it was towards him. Without even letting his apprentice speak, Sidious shot him a preemptive warning. "I sense your anger, great anger. Have you something to say? Some proud, defiant words? Or are you wise enough to know your place?" Sidious feels just how powerful Vader is growing in this moment, and immediately goes on the offensive, re-establishing himself as master. The Dark Lord is silent for a moment longer, contemplating his next move, but finally, Vader simply responds with this: "I am angry. You would not have me otherwise. My anger brought me to you. I want you to know that I will not fail. And I understand us precisely." This is the end of their conversation. Vader ultimately decided against telling his master that he knew the truth, or demanding an answer. Vader knew all he would get was more lies, and potentially trouble. Not to mention he needed to search for Luke personally. He needed his son for his own. But he did tell the Emperor that he would not fail in restoring his place of honor, and that he understood that their relationship was now better than ever. Vader knew exactly where the two of them stood. Palpatine always wants Vader subservient, and he will do and say whatever he needs to ensure that. But Vader is no dog, and he will use whatever cunning tactics he requires to achieve his ultimate goal, to take his son back, and to overthrow Palpatine. The relationship with the Sith is so brilliant because they each know that, but neither would ever say it. The comic ends with the Dark Lord staring out of the cracked viewport. He remembers Padme's broken-hearted face. He sees her body in the funeral. He remembers the trench run of the Death Star when he had the boy's X-Wing in his sights. And he sees Luke's face, wielding Anakin's lightsaber, as by now the two had met yet again on an Imperial base, which was where Vader first saw that Luke had his old weapon. It had been in that moment that Vader knew that something was wrong, that Kenobi had done something, and now he knew what that was. Kenobi had hidden his son away from him, but dealing with that would come later. For now, Vader had a storm of emotions, anger, but also perplexity, determination, and maybe small vestiges of what could be hope. All these things are expressed when Vader simply says this: "I have a son. He will be mine. All will be mine." This is very much Vader speaking here, by the way, which I think is important to discern between Anakin and Vader. What Vader wants is the power of Luke Skywalker, but what Anakin wants is simply his son. But my friends, this is what happened the day that Vader found out that Palpatine had lied to him about the death of his wife. One of the biggest reasons we love this comic so much, whether canon or legends, is that they explore these tiny details that often don't have enough time to play out on screen. Vader's inner thoughts and emotions mixed with the raw shock of learning he has a son is one of the most important moments in all of Star Wars. We understand the surprise and horror from Luke's perspective, but Vader had truly believed that all chances of a hopeful future had been squashed by his own hand on Mustafar. To learn that he had a son was like getting a family back from the grave. He had long since accepted that he could never get Padme back, although he would still try. But he could have a son. He could have a future. He could raise him in the ways of the Sith, overthrow Palpatine like he should have done so long ago. Luke could make the decision that Padme refused to. This is what went through Vader's mind. Strangely, an optimistic approach. But anyway, my friends, and fellow researchers of the archives, thank you so much for stopping by and watching our video today. And as always, may the Force be with you.